Her wandering gaze drifted toward the courtyard and fell upon elder brother, who lay stretched out on a charpoy, staring absently at the empty sky for a long time. His complexion was clear and open, his hair black. His face carried a quiet gravity. His eyes were large, remarkably attractive, the kind that seemed to pull a person toward them. He lived almost carelessly, detached from himself. Yet there was something extraordinary about him. Sitting there, Meru suddenly imagined Zebi standing beside him. The thought took root in her heart instantly, like a wish that had been waiting to sprout. Zebi was just as lovely. Honey-colored eyes and a complexion like ripened golden wheat. Yes. But elder brother, such a solitary man, as silent as if he had taken a vow never to speak. A little rude, too. How would anyone live with him? Who knows whether he even intends to marry? Well, I'll mention it to Maruf. Let's see what he thinks. But it seemed as though elder brother had already been waiting for such a moment. No sooner had Maruf Hassan stepped into the house than elder brother gathered up his belongings, and off he went. The days of delivery were drawing near, and even the simplest movements, sitting, standing, working, had become difficult for Meru. A woman came daily to sweep and clean, but throughout the day countless other tasks kept arising. Exasperated, Meru decided she would stay with Amma, but Maruf Hassan immediately refused. Why trouble them unnecessarily? We'll make some arrangements here. What other arrangement could there be? That very day, she called Amma. As the days get closer, it's becoming harder for me even to move, and the anxiety keeps growing. Please, Amma, you must come. Amma listened quietly. Whom shall I leave the other two girls with? She said at last. If it were only for a day or two. Meru pleaded again and again. But in response, Amma hung up. On the third day, while Meru sat lost in a tangle of anxious thoughts, someone suddenly came up behind her and covered both her eyes with their hands. Who? She exclaimed, startled. But the familiar softness of those hands, the known fragrance. Zebi! She leapt to her feet with a cry. The next few days passed in laughter and lively chatter. Maruf Hassan kept bringing home all kinds of things and piling them. It's the first time Zebi has come to our house. Treat her properly. Oh, please, Maruf Bhai. Zebi would protest shyly, trying to busy herself with work. Sometimes he would tease, the rules and regulations of this house haven't been written yet. Otherwise, you might have been handed a very long instruction sheet. It's all your darling's doing. Zebi would promptly expose Meru. She's the one who keeps trying to send you off with milk without sugar and tasteless tea. And Meru would shrug her shoulders innocently, pretending complete ignorance. During those days, on a fragrant, green morning, Meru gave birth to a son, a rosy little bud of a child. Both mother and baby were safe. Maruf Hassan's joy knew no bounds. His laughter ran everywhere. First, he telephoned Amma, then tried to reach elder brother, but God knew where he was. No contact could be made. That same evening, Meru returned home from the hospital. Visitors began arriving in a steady stream to offer congratulations. Meru carefully gathered the advice of the elderly women who came and went. Do this. Don't do that. Don't let so-and-so enter the house. The cycle continued for several days. Zebi ran tirelessly back and forth, serving guests. Amma and Aini also came, bringing clothes for Meru and the baby, toys, and a strengthening sweet made with clarified butter. When they prepared to leave, Amma asked Zebi to get ready as well. But both husband and wife immediately objected. There's a newborn baby, Amma. He keeps us awake all night and gives no rest during the day either. What will I do alone? Meru pleaded. Maruf Hassan supported her wholeheartedly. I go to the office without worry because Zebi is here with Meru. Meru barely has time to breathe with the baby. If Zebi leaves, we'll starve to death. Faced with their insistence, Amma had to agree. Zebi stood quietly, a silent spectator. Why are you looking so gloomy? Meru chirped. We won't let you feel sad. Now that I'm free again, we'll go on lots of outings. Let the baby's father handle him. There was life in Meru's bright chatter. But whenever she held the baby in her arms and a glow spread across her face, Zebi quietly looked away. In her heart, she prayed that Meru's happiness would last forever. Yet somewhere deep within her heart, an unfamiliar sorrow had begun to breathe softly. The weather had turned strangely uncertain, half warm, half cool. Inside the dim rooms, a coolness rippled softly, while in the courtyard, the spreading shadows carried a gentle warmth. Meru had gone into the room to put the baby to sleep, and soon her own eyes had closed as well. The tiny creature kept her occupied all day long. In the adjoining room, Zebi sat sewing tiny shirts for the baby. Apart from the faint hum of the sewing machine, the entire house was wrapped in silence. Rooms, veranda, courtyard, quiet lay everywhere. When the call to the midday prayer echoed through the air, Zebi left her work unfinished and stepped outside. The shadow had stretched across the courtyard and touched the opposite wall. Bright sunlight shone along the left wall. The pigeons Maruf Hassan had brought sat lazily in the courtyard, scratching their wings. Little sparrows splashed about in a bowl of water, fluttering their feathers. Leaning against a pillar, she watched them for a long time, lost in thought. I'll tell Meru. She should let me leave soon, she thought sadly. It isn't difficult to live here, but it isn't easy either. She was frightened of herself. Meru, Maruf Hassan, Maruf, Meru. The bond between the two of them stirred a strange turmoil within her heart, whether she wished it or not. The sight of broken glass bangles made her feel as though the blood in her own wrists had stopped flowing. Maruf Hassan's claim upon Meru, Meru's complete surrender, her coquettishness, her playful teasing, a hushed whisper, a sudden burst of meaningful laughter, a pointless little quarrel. Watching them together unsettled her deeply, and when she felt that unrest rising, she lengthened her prayers. She begged for purity of heart and mind. She sought refuge from the mischief of Satan. But this heart, this wandering, foolish heart, it refuses to understand. She moved away from the pillar and sat down on a chair in the veranda. I wonder who he will be, where he will be. Will he even exist? No, there must be someone, somewhere in this vast universe, someone who will be mine alone, someone meant only for me. Ahem. Someone had cleared his throat nearby. Zebi lifted her head and looked at the newcomer with eyes half awake from her thoughts. Who? She murmured, pausing for a moment. The man standing before her seemed equally uncertain. Tabrez Hassan. I'll call Meru, she said quietly, rising with tired steps and walking toward the room. Maruf Hassan sat with little Munna cradled in his arms. Elder brother fixed his gaze on the child. When he touched the baby's soft pink hands, the tiny fingers instinctively curled around one of his own. A spontaneous laugh escaped him. Maruf glanced up in surprise. then quickly pressed his lips together, lest even this stray, forgotten smile draw attention. Some people are so terribly alone within their own worlds. Sadness had begun to etch itself upon elder brother's face. Solitude had settled deep in his eyes. What can I possibly do for him? Maruf wondered. Elder brother, suggest a name, Meru said from behind him. He's still being called Munna while we wait for you. Maruf, you tell us, he added teasingly. You're the father. Surely you must have thought of something. I was thinking Hassan Tabrez. No. The interruption came firmly. He fell silent, thinking for a moment. Zaim Hassan would be better. Perfect, Meru said warmly. When she stepped forward to lift Zaim, elder brother took out several crisp 1,000-rupee notes and held them out to her. Buy something, Meru. Something for yourself and for Zaim. So much? But, elder brother? Meru's eyes widened in surprise. He rose from his seat. It's nothing, Meru. Nothing at all, compared to what you have given this house. You built it. You filled it with life. Earlier, when I came here, dust swirled everywhere. My heart used to ache at the desolation. Now the place is fragrant with living things. Even when I'm thousands of miles away, the silence of this house no longer follows me. I remain content knowing there is someone here to look after Maruf Hassan. We have spent our lives in half-shadows, but now whatever shelter we have belongs entirely to him. He bent down and kissed Zaim's forehead before quietly walking back to his room. The sadness in his voice filled Meru's heart. She quickly wiped her eyes and began patting Zaim against her shoulder. In a corner of the courtyard, Zebi sat picking grains of rice. Her hands had stopped working long ago. For a long time, her wandering gaze hovered around the closed door of elder brother's room. A delicate, enchanting fragrance seemed to weave its way slowly around her. No, she shivered faintly. A few grains slipped from the bowl and scattered around her. She stared blankly at the scattered rice. For a moment, she felt as though she herself had fallen apart, just like those grains. Meru! She suddenly called out in alarm. Meru turned immediately. Maruf Hassan too raised his head from the pillow and looked toward her. Meru! When will I go back? Her voice trembled, heavy with an unspoken fear, and the quiet melancholy of a fading evening. If only I too had a home whose steps would softly echo with fragrant footsteps, where the walls would glow with the delicate hues of flowers, where anklets would chime across the courtyard, where some reflection would adorn itself in the mirror of a dressing table, where garlands of jasmine would fill the room with scent, where kohl would deepen the evening in someone's eyes, where moonlight would illuminate the night of life. She would be there, and I would be there. In every dusk of joy and sorrow, life would quietly pass. Ah, if only I too had a home. The night had grown deep. The room had become unbearably stuffy. With weary effort, he dragged his heavy body toward the window and pushed both shutters open. Outside, the weather felt pleasantly cool. Drawing long breaths in an attempt to ease the suffocation within, he remained standing by the window. Lost in meaningless thoughts, he let his gaze drift across the rustling plants in the courtyard beds. Then suddenly he was shocked. In the silvery brightness spread across the courtyard, a shadow had moved. Who could it be at this hour? Barefoot, he opened the door and stepped outside. The far wall glowed fully in the moonlight. At the very edge of the fading darkness, a figure sat motionless on the steps. He walked closer, closer still. A long braid coiled over the right shoulder, like a black serpent. "Zebi." His voice was barely more than a whisper. Zebi looked up with shock. "Why are you sitting here, like this?" he asked softly, bending slightly toward her. Startled, she sprang to her feet. "You're crying?" Even in the dimness, he could see the tears in her eyes. She shrank with embarrassment and tried to hurry past him, but in his haste, he caught her wrist